Okay, it's Andy Lee Graham, and I'm in Antigua, Guatemala. Antigua, Guatemala is a World Heritage Site, and I'm here to make a trip to the airport tonight. But I'm going to talk today about simplify, simplify, simplify. Okay, I'm going to talk about Henry David Thoreau's Simplify, Simplify, Simplify. And bear with me, it's kind of difficult to do all this while I'm holding a camera and reading at the same time. But I live one of the most simple lives on the planet. I, by far, spend all my time trying to make sure that life is simple for me. And this is not always easy. And everything in my life is I study, I read, I think about it until I make it the easiest way possible. It's simple, except for my enjoyable thoughts. Everybody thinks that thinking is a problem. For me, I have enjoyable thoughts. I'm going to cross the road here and try to show you the park and entertain you a little bit. I design things and I write things in my head. So often when I'm thinking, all I'm doing is designing, or I'm coming up with ideas, I'm taking notes, I'm trying to decide how to simplify my life. But I enjoy thinking, okay? And I've realized that a lot of people do not enjoy thinking, but I do. So this is the park in the center, Parque Central de Antigua of Antigua, and it's pretty early in the morning. But I design and I write things in my head. But simplify, simplify is simplifies is something Henry David Thoreau said in his book Walden. I think it's in Walden. But you might say KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid is the essence of happiness, okay? But dysfunctional brains love thoughts that don't function. They complicate everything, okay? And they have endless dead ends on the way they think. But a functional person has a simple life because they're real clear and they have serenity. Serenity is clarity in my mind. So when I'm happy, I'm very clear on what I'm going to do. But why am I in Antigua, Guatemala? I'm in Antigua, Guatemala because I am going to the airport, picking up a man at about 10:30 at night, making sure that he has a simple trip to Guatemala. He's going to come here for a couple days. We'll come by taxi at about 10:30 at night. Then we'll go to, we'll stay here a couple days, and then we'll go to Pena Shell. Then we'll go across the lake, and we'll have one of the most beautiful entrance possible to the lake. I'm going to walk around. I'm in the park. And why? Because I know that some of you want to have something to think about while I'm talking. Okay, so this is the park, Parque Central. They call them Plaza de Armas in South America. And I go to the airport to meet things. But I'm simplifying his life by removing him thinking or having to worry, right? So that's what I'm doing for my friend. He's a 73-year-old man. He's really, very in good shape, but I want to make sure his life is simple. And what am I doing with the tour? I'm giving him a story, okay? What you do when you get a new story is you get a new reason to talk about things. And a story is what makes people stay young. My Mom Graham came to Lake Atalan for about 3 months, and she lived a great story, and I believe it gave her another 5 or 10 years of her life. Okay, but I'm trying to give people the best of lives. So I'll give him some more stories. That's how you keep young, is by having a future story and a current story. If you have only stories from 40 years ago, I don't know. Your life is almost over. Simple, explainable stories. That's what we want in life. Okay, so I'm talking today, and I could be rehearsing all this stuff, but I'm not going to do that because that would make my life difficult, okay? So I'm going to kind of meander around here, but this is all about Henry David Thoreau's desire to have a simple life and away from complexity. And the industrial world and the new world we live in right now is overwhelmingly complex, and people often don't realize how dysfunctional it is. The simple life. I live simple and always simpler. But thinking is fun for me, and I enjoy thinking. So I'm not a person that's going to complain about having thoughts in my mind, because that's what is the enjoyment of nothing better than having a wonderful thought, like a man thinking about the most beautiful girl on the planet, right? But everything's, we have both pleasure and pain by thinking. A lot of people consider anything painful. Okay. But even, I like to think about even a lot of things, and even crazy people are fun, okay? Because they give me things to think about that are not important, things that I don't have to try to change. But I have what Elon Musk calls Elon Musk calls this a philosophy of curiosity. And I believe that the reason why I've traveled is because I have the endless ability to be curious and endless ability to think about the wonderful world we live in. I'm going to tell you about how I keep things simple. I left the room in San Pedro La Laguna, Lake Atalan yesterday, and I came here. And I have absolutely no worries. Why? Because I don't have any plants to take care of. I have no dog to take care of. I have no maintenance work in the room. I have no motorcycle to watch, no car to take care of. Nothing I have to do. I can leave for weeks at an end and leave this room without any worries. But people always end up buying things that they think are conveniences, but they're not. I mean, having a motorcycle in this country is an inconvenience. Having plants and a dog is outrageously inconvenient, right? But you bargain every day of your life for how to live simply. And many of you are losing the game of life because you're angry, endlessly angry about things. Anger is a sure sign in my head, in my mind, that you are not at peace, okay? Anger at, answering the phone, answering at a vendor coming up to you, answer at, a text message. You refuse to answer the call. You basically spend your whole life avoiding life. But simplify it. But people are hooked on confusion. They like to go to big cities, and there's something to this that people don't understand, is that all this confusion is addictive. And getting on Facebook and Twitter and getting all angry and living this way is very confusing for people, and it's addictive. But I'm reporting this like a journal, and a journal should be just randomly thinking things through. And hola, ¿cómo están? But basically, when I'm thinking right now, I'm subconsciously getting in touch with my inner thoughts, and I'm going to say things that I really didn't realize I had in my brain. Or I could spend hours organizing this and making my life uncomfortable and complex. That's why I turn on the camera and I just record these things, because I want a simple life more than I want to make money. Okay. But I'm giving you chaos in the background so you have something to think about for some of you that are not very good at listening. So I took a bus here. Why did I take a bus? When I took the bus, I didn't have to arrange it. I wanted a simple way to come here, right? So I just basically got up in the morning, got on the boat, crossed the lake, got to the bus in Penna Shell, and came here. I did a bunch of changes. I paid about $7 altogether, but I didn't have to have reservations. I didn't have to worry about losing my money. It was simpler, it was cheaper, it was faster. I had no risk of money. A lot of people that have a complex life are always carrying a credit card. I carry a business card. Why? Why would I carry a business card? Because it's simpler to have friends when I have a way for them to communicate with me fast. Often I just enter the phone number in, because a lot of people have trouble entering phone numbers. I just enter my phone number into their phone for them. I'm here in the park listening to a lot of fools in a lot of ways. And the fools are the people that are so articulate that they make everything complicated. Um, Einstein made a comment that if you can't explain it to a sixth grader, you really don't understand what you're doing. If you can't explain it to a sixth grader, you really don't know what you're talking about. And a lot of times people are addicted to the complexity of a conversation and they feel an empowerment by this thing. This is the opposite of what Henry David Thoreau would want, or Einstein. An articulate fool uses a bunch of words nobody understands and everybody's afraid to say, I don't understand. They cannot say things simple enough to understand. But one thing Henry David Thoreau, I found today by reading a book called Alive, is that Henry David Thoreau wanted a communion with nature, okay? And what he meant was he lived in his little house. He lived in his little house on Walden Pond so that he was always in touch with nature. And I have been living this way for 25 years and I didn't really know it, okay? What this means is I have always lived in the tropics most of the time and I've always been able to do it. Even when I'm in Orland, Indiana, I can walk out the door and I can be practically in nature. Well, the people in the cities are always in a box. And one of the reasons I don't come to Antigua much is because I live in a cave here. But hotels should commune with nature, meaning that you should live halfway in the hotel and halfway out of the hotel. You can be in hotels where you are half inside the hotel and half outside the hotel. Like the hotel I'm in Lago Atalan is simple. I can cook outside, I cook upstairs, I can lay in a hammock outside, I could even have a little table out there. Well, here in the bigger city, what do I have? I live in a cave. But people like never-ending distractions, and this keeps 99% of people happy. They want to have something in their brain. And that makes it simple for the average person. They keep their brain full. But when I was on the farm, I always remember we played music. We played music to the cows. Why do we do that? It gives something in their brain and it made them stay calm, okay? And humans are, in my opinion, a lot like cows. We need to have something going on in our brain other than just thinking. I enjoy thinking, so I don't really need music. I hate music when they're playing it in the background on videos because I'm thinking about what the person's saying. But a lot of people are not really listening. What do? To simplify people's life, they give smartphones to children to keep them busy. I got a more expensive hotel. A lot of people think that they have to live in a $15, $10 hotel, and they're culture shocked. It's the first time out of the country, so I got a hotel that's very, very clean, so that I could simplify his brain, so that he didn't have to basically spend his time dwelling on all the little imperfections of a thing. But culture shock. I remember when I had a garden where I grew string beans and peas. I was in Natitingu, Benin, and what was interesting, I lived in this Hotel California, and it was really great. It's kind of a love hotel and on the edge of town, and it was really quiet. It's one of the quietest places. That's kind of an Islamic place, and the mosque was one of the hotels that the Lonely Planet recommended, had a huge mosque right next to it. And I go, hey, this is ridiculous. So I found this hotel that was really quiet, and what was interesting, next to it there was just a big pile of bushes, okay? I mean, it was grass like 8 foot high, right? 6 foot high. But one day I see them harvesting the corn from here. There was corn growing in there. And sometimes in Africa, that's what they do. They just plant the stuff, and whatever makes it is great. And I would do that if I was growing, I don't want to weed. I'm not going to weed things. I don't enjoy it. There's people that enjoy weeding, but not me. There's a museum right over here. So what I would do is I would rototiller to keep my life simple. I would rototiller the ground, I'd plant all the seeds, and whatever survived, I would eat. Or I could spend hours weeding. Plants in houses. If I have a plant in a house, I want an automatic watering system. Why? I'm not going to be tied to the idea of watering a plant every day. There's things that we do that are routine that keeps us busy, and we need it. People need these routine things so that their brain is occupied. Or you can be free like mine. But you got to choose your pain. There's pain to thinking. There's good thoughts and bad thoughts. And a lot of people right now are addicted to the negative thoughts. I'm addicted to like inventing things and planning and traveling and having fun. But you keep your brain occupied. This is for the dumb ones, okay? They keep their brains busy. They want the videos to really be absolutely perfect so they don't have to think. They want the volume to be perfect. They want me to edit everything, and they want me to spend all my time making it so they don't have to think, because they're not really listening in the first place, right? You're not thinking, so you need to be kept busy with music and edits and fast changes. This is what movies do anymore. But you're not listening. Only angry thoughts come up, and you can't be alone. When a person's alone anymore, they get angry. This is like solitary confinement in a jail. People in jail for punishment are put in solitary confinement, and they get extremely angry. They commit suicide. They need something to go. So they could turn up the music real high. They could, oops. People that get angry and impatient basically do not want to be by themselves. But Henry David Thoreau went to the Walden Pond for solitude so that he could get to know himself. You keep your brain busy because you're angry. Multitasking fools. That is, again, keeping your brain busy so that you don't really have to think, and basically you talk and nobody listens, right? Or they listen and just nod their head all the time. If you stop moving, you're going to go crazy. Let's see where I can walk around here. This is a water tank right up there that somebody is probably filling up water somewhere. Alone with your thoughts, wasted brains. Wasted brain is when you're so busy with your thinking that you have no time to talk to yourself. I want to stay simple. I don't overwhelm myself with thoughts. Henry David Thoreau, Elon Musk, all these guys realize that too much thinking about the wrong thing causes us great stress. If we're forced to react to negative thoughts, that's anger, right? But people are trying to have more complexity. They're not actually trying to simplify. They get an overwhelming amount of information, but what they miss out on is nature and people. Like this city right here is one of the least natural places that I could ever live. It's got a great park, but you're going to go live in a cave, and Lake Atlan is one of the most natural places. But when a person's addicted to the city, they feel very uncomfortable in places that are like small towns. They have to be by themselves. On the lake, you're in your thoughts a lot more than you are here, right? So people are by themselves, and they don't want to be by themselves. They want the chaos of the city. I have a goal. I'm always trying to explain to people how to simplify their life, but people think it's just one statement or something. Really, it's a process. How to always rethink what you're doing. But I'm going to give some more examples. A lot of people, reason why I get angry is I get involved with people's dysfunctional, complex concepts that have a nowhere. There's no end game, and basically all they're doing is staying busy, and they want me to stay busy by listening to their music or drinking or going to the bars or whatever they're doing. And they want me to talk about cars and houses and motorcycles, which, I don't know, cars and there's nothing more boring than cars, motorcycles, and things like this, because they're cliche. They're everywhere, right? Everybody's got one. Henry David Thoreau said the cost of a thing is the amount of what we will call life, which is required to be exchanged for it, immediately or in the long run. Okay, what this means is, what do I have to exchange? And I'm going to talk about, I could talk about right now the bus trip. My bus trip, if I would have taken a shuttle, it would have cost me, if I would have taken a private car, it would have cost $100. And I only spent about $7 coming here on the bus. And I would have had to work, if I was earning $25 an hour, I would have had to work 4 hours to earn the $100 to take the private car. And to take a shuttle, I would have had to work, the cost to come here by shuttle is about $20 according to where you're at. But I would have had to work like almost an hour extra just to pay for that. So you pay with pain. And this is where a lot of times I'm trying to always explain, to simplify. It's always a mathematical equation, and a lot of people just want comfort, but they're not really thinking it out. They're really doing what everybody else is doing. They're just following the leaders, right? Well, we pay with pain. And if we're ever working at something we don't like, or I enjoy the bus coming here because it gives me it's part of the culture. The chicken buses you'll see all over in Guatemala, it's part of the culture. Traffic noise fills your head with traffic noise is a way big city people fill their heads with noise. People noise, headsets, it's all avoiding thinking. It's a way for you to not have to deal with the world. I think she's selling coffee. Fill your brain with happy thoughts. If you have happy thoughts 95% of the time, and you're not dealing with all the reasons to be angry in life, think about how many times you're talking about something that you're angry with. What is friendship? A friend is something I can spend 10 hours with and never get tired. A friend is a person that basically we have a free flow understanding of each other. We don't get tired of each other. A lot of people can't have friends anymore because their brains are needing high stimulation to the point where they cannot actually keep it simple and just listen to their friends, right? But a lot of people don't want you to know what they're thinking about, so they know that if you spend more than, to keep it simple, they basically ignore people so that nobody will ever learn who they are or learn all their little secrets. The best thinking you ever had is the person that made you into an angry person. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I have a lot of angers and I've dealt with a lot of stuff. But I try to simplify it. And one way I simplify it is by living in nature. Okay, I live half in the room, half outside the room. I don't go live in 5-star hotels where I'm basically living in a box. Because nature calms me and city traffic makes me angry. But I grew up in a little town, right? And so I'm very used to quiet, while most people are addicted to the traffic because they grew up in a big city. Complexity has a trade-off. Some complexity is very good for us because it gives us something to think about. But complexity it's a trade-off. You got to be real careful when you're thinking about trade-off. But when we say something very complex and people get involved, like in Bitcoin or all these different things, a lot of it's just addiction to complexity. A lot of people spend all their days trying to figure out their phone, and the phone manufacturers know that the configurations is what makes the phones addictive. I'm sure that, Facebook, when I had the social network, I knew all along that to get somebody addicted, you had to allow them random complexity. But we have to be smart enough to avoid this. How do we become smart enough to avoid this? but you have angry viewers in life and anonymous people. So I want a simple life, and which means, how do you have a simple friendship? A simple friendship, you say, my name is Andy Lee Graham, and you say your name, and we start talking. Simple. How do I have a complex life? The person doesn't shake my hand, they don't say hello, they just start talking to me about some subject. I have no clue where it's going, and it's a waste of my time. There is no growing of the relationship. A relationship that grows has a cumulative knowledge that grows with the person. So the longer we know them, I'm calling this the 5 C's, the 5 C's of communication. Life is a contact sport. And you're going to see a lot of gringos covering their faces because they're wanted by the law. Life is a contact sport. Friendship is a contact sport. Make contact and never lose. Like all the Guatemalans, they almost never cover up, right? Simplify, simplify, simplify. The 5 C's. The 5 C's of communication is caring, conscientiousness, contiguous. Contiguous means that the person remembers the conversation from the time before and we continue where we left off. It's a continuous conversation. That's what friendship is. It never stops. That's what you have with your mother, your father, whatever. We hope. So it's a caring, conscientious, contiguous, continuous communication. And that makes life simple, because when you have a friendship like that, you don't have to spend all your time trying to figure out if you trust the person, right? But wisdom comes from continuous contact with different situations. And few people are looking for wisdom anymore. What they're really looking for, in my opinion, is a brain buzz. A brain buzz is when they get a high action movie, like a violence and anger and Netflix type movies. Continue. People that are dysfunctional never call anybody back. They basically are incapable of remembering what to do. They have no clarity. They have no desire for relationships. They want a dysfunctional world where everybody answers to them, but they don't answer to anybody. Voicemails. When I sold real estate, I was laughing. I sold a lot of real estate, about 80 properties a year at the end. And why? People ask me, why do you sell so much? I said, I pick up the phone. And they go, why don't you let it go to the voicemail? I said, they'll call me, they'll leave a voicemail message. And if they do that, I have to call them back like 3-4 times. It takes me 5 times longer to do that than it does to just answer the phone. And people, by not answering their phone, have created a more complex life. If you don't want to talk to somebody, you don't want to call them a friend, just block them and get rid of them. Why are you talking to people that you don't want to invite to a wedding? I came up with that the other day, is that a person I call a friend is a person I would invite to see my family, or I would invite to a wedding. If I'm not going to invite them to my wedding, why am I spending ungodly amounts of time with them? They got to be paying me, right? I want hotels where nature enters. The bigger the city, the less we are in touch with people. Big cities give you a bunch of things to think about and less ability to talk. But a lot of people you could have friends anywhere. And but a lot of people want entertained by the rock stars of the world, right? I think big cities are great, and I like to live with like 2 hours from them where I can come and see and look around and then go back to my room. But what is a complex food? Complex food is processed food. Processed food is when you, I'm gonna sit down here. Processed food is the most complicated food, right? It's not simple. So if you want to be healthy, you just say, simplify, okay? This seems like a ridiculous, easy thing to say, but all you got to do is always look, how can I make this simpler? If I cannot understand it, If you look at the ingredients of something, if somebody explains something and you cannot understand it, Henry David Thoreau would say, simplify. One thing I do to keep my life simple is I often buy food in the supermarket or these open air markets that I eat it on as I'm walking away. That way I don't have to have a refrigerator. I don't have to be organized. I can just eat the food on the spot. Just in time food. I also now only have vegetables. I think these girls are over here looking at me. I eat all my vegetables raw. Why? Because it's simpler. So I eat broccoli, celery, parsley, cabbage. I eat all these things raw. These are the healthiest vegetables are the ones that are the best raw. It's the string beans and the peas and the less healthy foods that are not so good raw. I stay in hotel rooms because it's simpler than an Airbnb. But people are addicted to the complexity, right? They think they have to have a complex world to be happy. And the more things you have to think about, the busier your brain is. Really, the busier your brain is, the less you have to deal with yourself. And so a lot of people want this complexity so they can avoid being by themselves. I don't have a car or motorcycle because I would have to babysit the thing. I'm in a hotel here in Antigua, Guatemala that is separated from nature. I'm going to say that again. The hotel I'm at here is basically a cave, and almost every single hotel here is almost a cave because they're in one-story buildings and they have no windows to the outside. Sometimes you have a courtyard, and this courtyard gives you a little bit of sunlight. But the separation from nature is unnatural for me. I have to walk out of the room to get water instead of having a 5-gallon bottle of water. I put water in my room to simplify my life. I get up in the night, I don't have to walk out of the room. If you work real hard, you can always find a way to do something simpler. I'm going to say that again. If you work at it, there's always a simplified way of thinking about things. And this is what a mentor, or a father, a mother, or a friend should be doing, is trying to explain to you how to simplify your life, not trying to how to make it more complex. Hola. There's a grocery store right next to my hotel here. And that's going to make life very simple for my friend coming here that doesn't speak Spanish, right? I moved into a room that's close to the open air market, and I'm hoping that he can understand that the location makes it the most convenient. And so even if we're paying more, what people are doing right now is the taxi system here is pretty horrible. They do have Uber, and they get these elaborate places that force them to take a taxi or a tuk-tuk every time they move. I'm in a location where I don't ever have to use a car or a tuk-tuk or a taxi or any kind of transportation, because it's all about, if a 2-day stay, it's all about location, location, location. It's not about luxury. It's always simpler to eat from a supermarket or a market because you can actually see the food. It takes twice as long. Like, I almost never eat in a restaurant except for social life. Why do I only eat there in social life? Is because I eat in coffee shop. I drink in coffee shops. I go to bars. I eat in restaurants for social life. I don't go there for the food. The food is not as healthy as if I eat out of the supermarket. Plus, I have to wait on the restaurant, right? And I like to live outside. I don't want to live inside. So going into a restaurant is living inside, right? We need houses where it's half in nature and half outside of nature. You see the people in New York City, and they take a 2-hour shuttle or train to the wind's pretty busy here. They take a 2-hour shuttle so they can live out in the country. Then they work in the city, and they end up spending another. They work 12 hours a day, and all they do is spin their wheels, right? The bigger the city, the less they're in touch with nature. And what do the first time they get rich? They move outside the city and then take a train into the city. Can you see how silly this is in a lot of ways? You're living outside the city so you can be in touch with open air spaces. But you made a choice to get a job in a place that is opposite of what you want to live. The other day, Prem was asking about buying a car in Brazil, and I said, you're just going to create something to babysit. A car is something, a motorcycle is something you have to babysit. Oh yeah, I wonder if she's selling bags. Oh, there's probably a painting in there. The book I'm writing right now is about Henry David Thoreau's, oh, this is going to be light. Hold up. Sorry about that. But the book I'm writing is about how I simplified my life. I've lived out of backpack for 25 years, and I've lived in hotels, and I always keep things simple. Keep it simple, stupid. And so many people overcomplex their life. Why do I live on Lake Atalan often? I don't have to worry about heat or freezing, okay? Like here in Antigua, it's about the same elevation. And when you don't have to worry about the clothing for heat or air conditioning, life is a lot simpler. I'm not fighting with nature. What complexity does is turns you into a maintenance man where you stay busy and you don't have to be by yourself. A lot of people cannot retire because they know that they don't have a clue what they would do if they were by themselves all day. A disconnect causes, by staying busy, listening to music, loud music, you have a disconnect from reality. Nature puts you back in touch with reality. Nature is the great pacifier. It puts you back in touch with reality. Very hard to go for a walk in the morning and not feel real. Walking in the grass, understanding what's going on is making things. The laws of nature and physics control humans. We're not meant to live in a box. I always live in hotels that are close to nature. I wake up in the morning and I go for a walk. I don't have to sleep in because I'm not drunk I didn't stay up till 3 o'clock getting drunk and doing drugs and hanging around with a bunch of losers. I used to be an alcoholic. 27 years ago, I had a very complicated life. I was very confused, and I've spent my last 37 years getting in touch with reality. But the last 25 years, I've traveled to 114 countries and kept it very simple. I'm constantly looking to adapt and make it more simple. Each dawn, Henry David Thoreau awoke to a world that was not dominated by people. It was dominated by culture, I'm wrong. It was dominated by nature. So Henry David Thoreau lived in a world on Walden Pond that was dominated by nature. Is your world dominated by nature, or is it dominated by people and chaos, or traffic, or cars, or the desire to think about how you're going to get drunk tonight? He had a dwelling where nature came into his house, but he only had one room, so he had to go outside, right? Simplify, simplify, simplify. There's always a way to lead us out of temptation. The Bible talks about temptation. And lead us not into temptation. There's always a way to avoid the temptation to make your life more complicated and less in touch with your inner natural being. And people want to eat organic, but they go into supermarkets where everything's in a part. You know, you go into if you go into a health food place, everything's in a package. It's amazing. I'm sitting there going, this is the opposite of what I can trust. Anything with ingredients on it is not to be trusted. It's not natural. If you live long enough in a simple place, your mind will start to simplify. And that's the reason why people need to be in very simple lives, have simple lives, and live in simple places, so that eventually they learn to like themselves. But this is contrary to what people want. People want you to buy the car. They want you to buy the motorcycle. They want you to get overwhelmed. Friends want to work. My friends all want to work. They don't want to be free. They want to be enslaved by their job. They demand to be. They want to work till they're age 67. They'll work until the day they die because they need a keeper. They're wage slaves. Oops, sun's going to come into I got to move around sometimes. Bill Gates, and I brought this at last. I brought this at last because Bill Gates angers a lot of people. But when a billionaire talks, you ought to listen, no matter what. No matter even if you hate them, because billionaires got that way by being very intelligent. And Bill Gates, one of his best quotes I think ever was, "I choose a lazy person to do a hard job because lazy person will find an easy way to do it." A lazy person is going to find the simplest way to get something done. I'm not lazy thinker, but I'm definitely a lazy guy when it comes to moving. I'm not going to sit there and waste my time moving around. One of the funniest things I ever had was a guy wanted me to talk with him while he studied French. He's going to multitask and study French, and I just hung up on him, right? I was like, it's not possible to study a language, which is all about memory and concentration. But people go in Starbucks because they don't really want to work. They can't be alone with themselves, and they don't. It's basically studying with loud music on and things. The people that really study go to the library. They get into a quiet carrel, talk to themselves, and study by themselves. Studying French, well, that was funny. One time I had a real estate client. I was talking to him on my phone. I was talking to this client on my phone. And this was a game changer for me. He says, "Andy, you're not listening." I said, "Oh, I'm listening." And he said, "No, you're not. I can hear the computer typing." And I said, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I was listening to him, but I really was only entering half my brain." And he says, "Andy, I'm your client." And I thought to myself, he's 100% right. And ever since that day, I have never done anything but listen when I'm on a phone. Yeah, I'll walk down the street, but I'm going to listen to people because everybody that is worthy of being in my world, that has value, I should be listening to. When a person is talking on their phone and doing, they are saying to you that you are not worthy of their time. But it's like, I right now run away from idiots. Idiots is a person that's trying to do multitasking, talking on their phone, has no respect for anybody, doesn't even tell me their name. Why? Because there is no cumulative growth with this person. I'm not going to become their best friend. It's a dead-end street. And that's what simplification means. You don't try to be friends with people that have no desire to be friends. You're not going to have a long, continuous 5C, caring, conscientious, contact sport where you're really always in contiguous communication with this person. Tours. I was thinking about a tour, and it's very difficult to take a tour because, or give a tour. I would like to be able to give tours to people, but I can't. because I'm not sure that this person can can be a functional, respectable person. And I don't really want to charge a pile of money, but I only can charge enough money that I will tolerate listening to the person and not replying. And that's not really what I want to do in life. I don't want to sit around talking to somebody that I have no desire to talk to. I want to respect them and I want them to respect me. I keep my mouth closed only for a lot of money, okay? If you're here, okay, I'm here and you're not, why not? What's interesting is there's no need for me to go live here because I have a lot of things to stay busy with, right? In a way, when I go live, it gives me a brain buzz and it gives my brain a lot of thinking that makes me happy. And right now, just walking around here is an enjoyable experience, and it's not the same as going live, right? But remember, when you're filling your brain up by living in a city, noise makes cows happy. I'm going to say that again. We put on music to keep cows happy. When they're milking them, they turn on the music and they give a bunch of brain buzz. This is what traffic does. This is what music does. This is what an overwhelming amount of people does, is it keeps your brain busy so you don't have to be by yourself. It's like the Shawshank Redemption, though. This is what keeping it simple is. If you think long enough, you can find redemption and you can escape from jail. Think long enough, you will escape. Henry David Thoreau spent a lot of time alone in unwalled pond so he could learn who he was and escape his own he could become one with his subconscious, right? If you travel long enough, if you live long enough traveling, you're going to spend enough time by yourself that you're going to actually figure out who you are. In the movie The Razor's Edge with Bill Murray, he traveled around and he found out who he was by being with himself. And this is how you become a functional person, is by spending enough time thinking where you can analyze who you are, and then you try to keep it simple, stupid. Okay. And then if you travel long enough, you're going to fall in love with yourself. Or you can get a job and stay busy because you hate yourself. Being alone, be alone until you fall in love with yourself. Okay, I hope this wind didn't cause too much problems, but should I worry? Nah, I'm not going to worry. Life is good. I'm here and you're not. Why not? I'm Andy Lee Graham. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see me talk about how to have a simple life and travel to 114 countries and live in paradise on a windy day.